bit of some perfect.
No spin, no bias, no censorship. I'm Dan Wootton. This is Outspoken episode number 484. And breaking today, Britain's real right-wing parties go head-to-head here on Outspoken in the last election debate before millions of patriots go to the polls tomorrow in a seismic set of British elections that are set to smash the disunited Kingdom's Uni Party once and for all. But the civil war on the right is growing by the minute, with a dramatically different approach between the Multicultural Reform UK campaign as part of Nigel Farage's push to the left and Restore Britain leader Rupert Low's call in Great Yarmouth that the UK can only be saved by the real British and English.
Nah, we want Rupert Low.
It's not the Reds and the Blues who are going to rescue us, it's real English and British people.
Will Nigel Farage come to regret the way he brutally dismissed Restore?
The party isn't even registered. He won't be on 1% anywhere, not even probably in Great Yarmouth. Thank you.
You fucking will, you bastard. Piss off, you fucking dick.
And we are in dire times, folks, with a new video going viral today of a
Farage
Green-supporting foreigner who can't even pronounce the word fascist in English, causing violence on our streets against a Republican voter.
We represent
I'm not
fascista.
Fascista.
Fascista. Fascista. Tu, Adamari. Reform. Reform, yeah? 100%. Yeah, but no good. Good. This is over.
So today, it's the ultimate pre-election clash between the parties of the right. Representing Reform UK, its candidate, Dr. Roger J. Gewolb. Representing Restore Britain, its councillor, Karen Mishuk. Representing UKIP, it's their spokesman, Father Calvin Robinson. And representing Advance UK, its college member, Sarah White. Also coming up on the show today, the tit whisperer Zach Polanski's appalling new lies exposed. He was never even a properly qualified hypnotist like he claimed, and he also wrongly lied about being a Red Cross spokesperson. So we're going to show you the car crash new interview where he even admits that he is not ready to be Prime Minister. No sugar, Sherlock. And the fakery scandal at Channel 5's crisis hit Vanessa Fowles' daytime show has just exploded as the hapless host has now fallen for a fake caller pretending to be the iconic and highly familiar British TV star Tina Malone. We've also still got the Royal Uncancelled after show after the main show today over on Substack. And this is terrible. Woke ITV News has despicably put Prince George's security under threat in a shocking new attack by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's propagandist allies Chris Shipp and Charlene White. So we'll show you what's made Prince William so mad, then get analysis from Royal YouTube sensation according to Taz. That's over at www.outspoken.live. The Superstar panel are also going head-to-head, not just in the clash today, but in our Union Jackass. Father Calvin Robinson has nominated Hillary Clinton for trying to ban a comedian from asking her about her dodgy emails. Sarah White has nominated Nigel Farage for turning up at Clacton 3 times in the last 10 days, trying to prove that he actually cares about the area that he's supposed to represent when he hasn't been there for most of the year. Typical politician. And Roger Gewolb has nominated Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary. He says she gets the narrow price for fiddling as Rome burns. She has just announced that she is introducing 3 new schemes to increase legal immigration, which will work just as soon as Britons get confidence in our migration system and we break the backs of the people smuggling gangs. Roger says it's like planning the menu for a dinner party on the moon just as soon as I get there. So 3 interesting choices. Don't worry, we won't leave Karen out. He's going to reveal today's greatest Britain later in the show. But get voting, you can do so on the live chat. Keep your feedback coming in today. Keep your comments and super chats flowing as well. We'll read out the best at the end of the show. But now, let's go. Amidst the election chaos that is going to come on Friday as the uni party of the Labour and Tory traitors who have betrayed Britain for a generation, there is a growing story that the MSM simply will not cover. The split on the right of British politics is growing And while Nigel Farage's party
this
will
is what
have
Labour
a
want.
massive,
Well, that's what Labour
game-changing,
want, though,
seismic moment on
Labour
Friday,
wants that to
I think the
happen.
story is just
It's
beginning.
happening on the left
With
as
Restore
well.
Britain and Rupert
Not
Low
just on the right,
expected
it's
to take
happening
the
on the
fight
left as well.
to scenes like
There's
this,
splits in the left
showing
side as well
Reform's
as the
Muslim
right.
London mayoral candidate Leila Cunningham campaigning in
And I
Sadiq
don't like
Khan's
her, I
capital.
don't. I watched her before with Jeremy Kyle and I don't particularly like her. I'm not against stuff, but I just something, I just don't get a warm feeling from her, don't get that. You get that feeling from Kerry Bain, not to get that feeling of a person. You know, I mean, alright, it's about conservatives, I've got voted for Kerry Bain, but I do like Kerry Bain, I've got to make I do like him, and if I'm not voting Rupert Low, then that will be the person I will vote
That
for. I
video
ain't
immediately
voting
caused
neither for that.
another civil war on the British
I'm not
right,
voting for
with
no
Restore
fucker.
Britain staffer
That's why
Montgomery
I'm
Toms
voting
writing
against that.
incredible display.
Yeah.
Have the
I'm
Green
having
Party
Nigel
done
Farage
a
after
coalition
lying
with
about the Brimley
Reform?
Gang scandal.
And has Ahmed
That's my
argued
point,
this
Matthew.
is Reform's London Mayor candidate,
That's my
Leila
narrative.
Cunningham,
That's
out
my point of view
campaigning?
about
And it's
Nigel Farage.
embarrassing.
Lying about the Brimley
They're
Gang
shouting
scandal.
in
They
people's
can
faces,
fuck off.
disturbing residents,
Fuck Brexit
and turning
people.
streets
And
into a
he'll fuck
circus.
off for
This
himself.
style of campaigning is what you would
Fucking
see
do one.
in India or South Asia. They're even doing this in
At least Rupert
India.
Low's doing something about stuff.
Zor say bolo, which means
He's
scream
the one
louder.
that
Is
they
this
actually
what you call
listen to.
integration?
Rupert Low.
Now, Cunningham
They
herself
think that about Rupert
responded,
Low.
and she
Rupert
actually
Low
brought
is
her
the only
increasingly
one
woke
that gets
approach to this,
listened
which
to
I
in
think she
Parliament
had previously
properly.
attempted to keep hidden, writing, "Great day with great people and bread. I want a London where your future is not decided by your skin
And
colour,
I thought
religion or
Rupert Low-
postcode, but by your hard work, talent and
First time in my life
determination.
I'm going to be voting for
And what
someone that's
unites us
Rupert
is
Low.
not grievance
As soon as I
politics,
can vote for
but
Rupert
pride
Low,
in
it's
this country,
Rupert Low.
pride in our freedoms,
That's
and
what I
pride in
want,
being
Rupert
British.
Low. I
London
don't
should
know
be a city
who I'm
where
meant to
your
be voting
path
for
to life
tomorrow
is
then.
decided
If it's
not
tomorrow.
at birth, a city where patriotic people from every community can rise, achieve, and fulfill their potential through hard
There is
work and
none.
perseverance. Supporting controlled
There is
immigration
not much
and secure
community,
borders
but we
does
need
not
to
make
build
you
new community. We need
anti-immigrant.
to rebuild
Millions
the
of people
community.
came to
There is
Britain
no
legally,
community, but
contributed
we need to
massively,
rebuild the
and are
communities back
proud
up.
to be
That's the
British.
point.
Then, of
We
course,
need
you
to
come
get
to
rid
the
of all
hard
these
left,
illegal immigrants, get rid of all of
like
them.
Green Party shill Narinder Kaur, who had a totally different and I think very racist take actually, posting on those scenes any Indians
All the
voting for
ones that
reform
are
right now ought to
that
hang their
fucked up in
heads in
Manchester English,
shame.
whatever they are,
Our
fucking
fathers
fuck
and
whatever they
grandfathers
are.
fought against the
The-
very
the-
racism they
the
stand
ones
with
that
today.
dead on floor,
A
they
reform councillor
put
said it was
down
glad a
the-
Sikh woman had been
the
racially
gang them.
raped. Have these Indians
Well,
no shame?
Yeah,
So I
okay.
guess
We don't
this
want
is
them
what
here.
Narinder would prefer.
We don't want them people
These
here. We don't
shocking
want them here.
scenes going
We don't
viral
want them
of
here.
a
We don't
Green
need them here. We've
supporting
got
foreigner who can't even pronounce the word fascist
Yeah.
in English, causing violence
Should try
on
the
our
fucking-
streets
I'll give
against a reform campaigner. Watch this.
And then, right, they're calling people Nazis.
What did you-
It's
excuse me?
not good. Don't, they
What
don't
did
be
you say
calling
you
people
wanna
a
do?
Nazi in anything.
Is that going to cut your throat?
On
You
GMT
need a
news
motion,
or
I got
whatever,
cut your throat.
GMB news. I don't watch that for a
Don't-
while.
don't
I'm not
throat
watching it. I
throat.
don't
Yeah?
care. I
What was that
don't really want to
Muslim
watch
you?
it
Sending a
anymore.
agenda. What's that Muslim you? What's sending a agenda? Will you represent? Yeah?
I used to like GMB news. I like
Fascista.
watching, some of the presenters, some of them were pretty alright.
Fascista. You
But what I thought, like Alex and Phillips and that, I thought they were alright people. I thought they were on the people's side,
Yeah,
And sometimes she's alright, that Alex Phillips. She does say some good things, as she said about Sadiq Khan and stuff.
Well, I'm going to wash out, son.
The way she perceived with Rupert Low and that is pretty terrible. That is pretty disgusting.
So what's the fun?
I'm sorry, there's no need for them.
Look, woman, this is me.
And that's what I mean, people don't want reform. Yeah, but people are like this with reform, they're like that with Labour. And they're like that with reform. I don't think they're like that much with Restore Britain. I don't think they're like that much with Rupert Low. I don't think so.
Doesn't tell me what to do, boy. There's a little phone call. Aki, the breath stinks. I just saw it. When you're arrested, when you're arrested, don't tell them.
What the fuck's going on?
So that's what the Green Party wants to import to this country. For all the talk, though, of the right uniting, I would argue the split is only increasing. With Rupert Low arguing in Great Yarmouth this week, the only constituency, remember, where Restore Britain are running this election under the Great Yarmouth First banner, that the country can only be saved by real English and British people.
Under their noses.
Yeah, and they can, but you need to be up the country. You can't just be there because we need you on all over, mate. You need you to be the government. That's the point. Because I'm not voting for nobody until I can vote for Rupert Low. I'm not voting for no one, mate, until I can vote for you. There is no one around there I'm voting for. I don't know who they are. I'm sorry. I think they're Muslim, and I'm not being horrible. I'm not racist. I've got nothing against anyone. But it's... I'm 43, it's about time, like I say. I've got my little girl to think about and stuff to get back. Whatever, so it's about time. I think about this sort of stuff. Rupert Low. Yeah. I'm not getting any either. I'm getting older and that's it.
The Tories didn't do enough to actually bring the people to book and actually expunge it from our society. So in the end, it's not the Reds and the Blues who are going to rescue us, it's real English and British people.
Yeah, it's Rupert
And
Low.
Restore's spokesperson for women and children's safety responded to Nigel Farage this week directly. Orla Minihane writing, "Victory is 1,000 times sweeter when you're the underdog." And she reminded Farage of this video that I don't think will age well.
The party isn't even registered. He won't be on 1% anywhere, not even probably in Great Yarmouth. Thank you.
What do you know, mate?
Not even at 1% in Great Yarmouth. They were the words of Nigel Farage during this election campaign. I have a feeling Friday is going to prove him very, very wrong. At his final major campaign rally, though, Nigel was absolutely right to point out that Labour has now given up. Totally given up on protecting the border as the party swings to the hard left, the communist left, the socialist left. And it's terrifying. Shabana Mahmood has just simply failed. She talked tough, she did nothing. And she is now moving the party and the country to a very disturbing place.
And even the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, do you remember she was talking tough?
I mean, he does talk something.
Talking really tough. What she said today is we must allow more people, more refugees to come into Britain legally. So rather than coming by boat, we'll just open the doors and let them in. They're hopeless, they're useless, and yet what's going to happen in Merthyr? And what's going to happen in Sunderland? And what's going to happen in Barnsley and St Helens and many other parts of this country is reform are going to take the patriotic old Labour vote.
I mean, yeah, I like
we will, and we'll carry on with this message. Vote reform on Thursday and get Starmer out.
But the thing is, you could argue the same thing about a lurch to the left is actually happening within Reform UK. With Robert Jimmer accusing his final day on the campaign trail to move the party away from recreating the British ice and trying to compare Reform to Barack Obama rather than Donald Trump.
If a Reform government did not stop votes, then it would obviously offend.
I want to ask about Trump and Reform's relationship with Trump. Nigel obviously has a friendship with Trump. A lot of Reform's policy is in one way or another modelled on things that Trump has proposed, especially deportation.
Look, I don't think that our policies are modelled on Donald Trump.
The deportations policy is almost a complete imitation of the Trump policy.
Obama actually deported a lot of people from the United States.
Not in the same way, though, not with sort of ICE style.
Well, we're not proposing to recreate ICE. We'll do things in our own way, in a British fashion. But what I do take from Donald Trump was can-do attitude, determined to fix things. Actually, in his second administration, he'd used the time he had out of government wisely to come with a proper plan for some of those things. and a willingness to use all the levers of the state to fix our borders. And I believe in that wholeheartedly.
And then I do think that we have to remember Nigel Farage's own words. Nigel Farage's own words just a few months ago.
He lied, mate.
It's a political impossibility
That's the
to
point.
deport
He's a liar.
hundreds
I
of
don't
thousands
care.
of people.
You're
We
a
simply
liar like fucking
can't
Keir
do it.
Starmer.
At the moment, it's a political impossibility.
Why,
But is it
mate?
your ambition?
No.
No, it's not.
No, yeah, I'm not going to get dragged down the route of mass deportations or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, people are always going to come and go, and we are a country that's engaged in international trade, and we have relationships around the world through the Commonwealth, etc.
Yeah, you didn't get with the Grim Gang, mate.
But yeah, we have to aim at a
You're like
balanced
Keir
migration
Starmer
policy.
fucking...
But net zero still means
Get away
hundreds of
with it.
thousands of people coming into Britain, immigrants
Labour.
coming into Britain. Isn't that too many?
It may well be, but we have to
But
start
you haven't
somewhere.
done an
Because
inquiry
Trump
yet.
says in America that he wants mass
Started, like,
deportations. We're talking about hundreds of
We
thousands
want
of
to
illegal
know
immigrants
about
are
the
in Britain at the
inquiry
moment.
for
Some
the
estimates say
scandal.
the number could even be in, a million plus.
Oh,
So
you've got
do
the
you support
files
deporting
and
all of
all
those
that.
people?
It's impossible to do.
And then
Literally
you've got
impossible.
everything else. No,
And
just
Reform
fuck off, you
UK's
can't deal
own
with it.
candidates in this election have
Yeah.
caused huge concern to those of us
The
on
only
the
one
real
that's-
right,
the only one
like
that's
Aisha
shown
Galati, the Reform UK
any
candidate
sort
for
of
Lancaster
anything and dealing with
Gate.
anything is Rupert
Watch
Low.
this.
That's the only person that's
Yes, what is
fucking
that?
shown
Hello, yes,
of
I'm
dealing
there. I'm
with
one of the
anything,
local
actually doing
councillors.
something.
Council candidate?
You
No,
know,
you're not a
going
local
and doing
councillor.
something about something.
No, she's a candidate.
I'm a candidate.
Or
But which
trying as
party?
far as he can get
For
to
reform.
deal with
Yeah, I'm not
whatever he's,
interested, thank you.
whatever it is. He's
Connor
the only
Tomlinson
person-
confirming that video
he's
is
the only
real, and he says
person
you're not going to
that's
believe
done
it.
that.
She's been parachuted into Layla Cunningham's old ward at the request of her wealthy Indian father. What a joke. But look, one thing you can't deny in this battle is that Farage remains overwhelmingly
talk about dad's on borders
famous.
and everything, yeah?
With Matt Goodwin
Well,
posting
I think
posters
with
jail
Rupert Low,
partners
we
show
might have
British
more
people
of a chance
face
of
of different
building a
politicians.
dinosaur border with
78% recognised Nigel Farage,
Well, Nigel Farage, it's not
12%
gonna be
recognised Rupert Low. Low was the least recognised of all politicians. Never forget, online clicks are not
just because
offline
someone's
votes.
not
Vote reform.
recognised yet, don't
But
mean
Connor
that the
Tomlinson of Restore
fucking
Britain
not
replied,
come yet.
if Restore and
It's good
Rupert
that
Low
Rupert
really
Low's
were
not
so
recognised
insignificant,
as
and X
much
had
as
no
them
bearing
lot.
on offline votes, then
Do
you
you know
wouldn't
why
be
he's not
boasting.
recognised as much
So
as them
often
lot? Because he's
about
not
Restore Britain on
corrupted.
X, Matt, you can't say online
Exactly,
political
he's
discussions
not
are
lying
worthless
and he's not
when you
corrupted.
make a
That's why
living
he's not
on
recognised
Substack.
as much.
Now, credit to
You
her,
don't
and the
get
Tories aren't
recognised
represented
as
here
much
today
when
because
you're
I
not
don't
like
believe
the
are a
other
true party of the
people.
right. But Kemi Badenoch does at least acknowledge that Restore is a growing threat.
What has gone wrong? So we're in a different era. The era
I like
of
Kemi
two-party
Badenoch.
politics,
I do
where two
like
parties
her.
more or less split 100% of the vote,
I like
has
her
gone.
Badenoch.
We now
I've
have
always
multi-party
liked her. I've always
politics.
liked her.
It's
Since
not
the
just
day
the Liberal
I seen
Democrats,
her
it's Reform,
coming to
it's
the
the
thing,
Greens,
they did
there's
pick
even
the
a new
right
party
person
on the
over
right
that,
called
that
Restore that's coming
guy.
out. I was in
I
Scotland
was
the other day,
thinking,
you've got
but
the
I think
SNP and
they've got
Alba,
the right
like Conwy.
person over
We're
there.
seeing a fragmentation in our political system.
So does that
And
mean
is
Frank?
harming,
I do
that-
like
that's harming the established parties as new
what's
parties
that
are
as
being
well
run.
about?
So before we clash on this with our right-wing parties, let me present to you two different views, okay? I'll present you the Reform UK view and the Restore Britain view, then we'll debate. Farage's in-chief and Reform UK supporter June Slater wrote, and this is in reference to Rupert Low and Ben Habib. It's very sad to see two particular individuals that were once part of the rebirth of reform spending time attempting to crush reform's chances, especially when the two main characters had so little on offer. One lost in the general election, that's her referring to Habib, and the other only one because Nigel Farage had come back, that's referring to Low. One even campaigned hard against Sarah Poynton when he didn't have a party or a candidate. This was in a Labour stronghold with a 14,500 majority. She won after a recount with just 6 votes. Would you have preferred Sarah to lose to Labour? Because he would. Imagine us today with no Nigel Farage, no reform leading the polls, no councillors, no mayors, no MPs, not even the one that moans about him too. Just where would the country be?
Only because they've
Rupert
not
still
been
with
running it and not
32,000
been in
followers on
charge of
X
it,
and no
or
retweets
whatever.
from
They've
Elon
not
Musk
been
because he
allowed
wouldn't be a
to deal with
politician.
anything,
He wouldn't have won. None of them
If
would
you're
accept
just
Lee
whatever,
Anderson.
you can't
So when
deal
you're
with the
persuaded by their
hardcore, you don't have a bit
negativity
of a voice,
towards
that's
reform
what I
and
say.
Nigel, imagine this country without them. But then we've got the counter argument, because there are a lot of people who aren't part of Reform UK saying you've still got to vote for Reform UK tomorrow. But Connor Thompson has a different take. He has posted in the past few hours, Britain's local elections are tomorrow, and Reform UK have been campaigning with processions of Hindus and prostrating themselves in Sikh gurdwaras. Why is it sectarianism when the Greens pander to Muslim voters, but British values when the Conservatives and Reform do it for religions? Zia Youssef has promised to prioritise Green constituencies for the deployment of migrant detention centres if Reform wins the next election. Richard Tice responded to the suggestion that it would be impossible to build such facilities in London boroughs like Lewisham and Hackney with challenge accepted. Reform will make it more likely that mass deportations will be blocked by local activists. I'm not voting for this.
I tell you what we do.
It doesn't have to be this way.
It does. We have to do it this way. We have to get the army.
Okay, now let's clash.
And we need the right person to deal with it.
Going head to head in the final pre-election debate, representing Restore Britain, Karen Mishchuk, their councillor, representing UKIP, their spokesman, Father Calvin Robertson, representing Reform UK, their candidate, Dr. Roger J. Gewolb, and representing Advance UK, their college member, Sarah White. Roger Gewolb, great to have you back on Outspoken. There's been a lot that we've hit Reform UK hard with just then, so I want to start with you. What are you offering tomorrow? Why should people vote for you? And are you concerned about these scenes of Layla Cunningham and a whole load of non-English people chanting non-English things while campaigning in London?
Yeah. If I may, Dan, good to be back with you. And if I could just say, first of all, I'm not a politician. I am, as you well know, a broadcaster. And I've always, over the years, tried to remain neutral and nonpartisan as much as someone like I can do. But I think the crisis in this country has come to the point where people have to step in wherever they can. And as one of my producers said to me, duty calls, Roger. So that's why I'm here as a candidate for Reform. It is the only party any sensible person could possibly vote for at this point. I have been saying for probably over 2 years that the right will eat itself to its detriment, and it's a real shame. It's a sub-problem to the problems that we're having with Labour and the Tories. But for the right to split the way it has is a real shame, and it's getting personal. I'm not sure I agree with you that it will grow. I hope that following tomorrow's results, it will actually start to diminish because of the Reform victory that the party will have. Layla Cunningham is herself an Egyptian, is effectively from an immigrant family, and I think she's absolutely fantastic, and I see nothing wrong with the way that she's campaigning. And in every demonstration and campaign that I've seen, Dan, people raise their voices as their passions rise. It's natural, it's part of politics. It's even fun.
But I think a lot of people will be saying, Roger, actually, we don't particularly want to elect an Egyptian Muslim to save the United Kingdom. But look, you've had your say. We'll get to the rest of the panel before you guys can clash. So, Karen Mishchuk, I want to come to you. A lot of people who are Restore Britain supporters can't vote for Restore Britain tomorrow, given you're only running in Great Yarmouth. What should they do?
Well, I'd just like to say, I'm in Great Yarmouth right now, and the campaigning energy, the people that have come is absolutely unreal. I've never seen anything like it. And the enthusiasm on the door as well is great. And I know that this will be replicated across the country. But as we've said, and I'm sure people could realise, if there's no one on the ballot paper for Restore, then they have to make their own minds up. We're a party of free will rather than being told what to do. So if there's a candidate on your ballot paper and you want to vote for Restore, but you don't you don't have the opportunity, then you need to just make your mind up. Vote for someone who thinks that is actually going to make change, because it's not just party. There are some candidates and councillors who do well. I'd like to say I work very well with the Labour councillor in my shared ward. It's not because of his party, he actually wants to do something. I'm not promoting Labour here. It's just a fact that, regardless of Rosette, people can make a change.
Okay, Father Calvin Robertson, this is quite shocking to a lot of people because your party, UKIP, despite your criticism, strident criticism of Nigel Farage, is saying tomorrow you've got to vote Reform UK. You've got to hold your nose and vote Reform UK for the good of the country.
Vote for fucking UKIP.
The Nick's not standing tomorrow, unfortunately, and he's been up and down the country campaigning political activism, promoting the idea that we are a Christian country first and foremost, and so he's putting that at the heart of his campaign mission at the moment. In terms of who to vote for, people like Kieran just said have got to vote based on their conscience. This is just a local election. It's not going to be a mirror anyway whatsoever of the general election that's coming up in 2029 or even closer, depending on whether we get a snap election or not, or whether Sir Keir Starmer steps down or not. But the point being that this is not going to be indicative at all, and I wish it was. I wish we had that great big panel of Reform, Restore, UKIP, get all the right-wing parties competing against the Greens and demolish them. It would be great to see that, but that's not going to be the case in Great Yarmouth tomorrow. And so I wish the people the best of luck.
Sarah White, why should folk vote for Advance UK tomorrow?
I want everybody together.
Well, Advance UK, obviously, it's pretty similar to everybody else. We're not standing in candidates everywhere, so people do have to vote for people who they generally believe will do the best in their area. So I wouldn't necessarily say that people should vote Reform, and I think it's a real shame that what Reform done to everybody to then create all these other parties, because I believe that Restore and Advance wouldn't have been created if Reform had carried on being the party that we was all promised. If there is an Advance candidate standing in your area, I would say vote for them. They stand for integrity, honesty. They don't want to fill you with nonsense. They want feet on the ground. They want to do what's right for their local areas. If you look at Clacton, you've got Tony Mack standing. He's a great candidate, a strong candidate. He knows what Clacton West and St Joseph really wants. So, I think people do have to vote for who's best for their particular area, and none of our parties have many representatives up and down the country.
Okay, well look, let's clash now because you've all set out your stall. Feel free to interrupt, feel free to go for each other. You know this is outspoken. We have a free and fair conversation. Karen Bishop, just looking at the criticism of that footage, if we can just look at that footage again actually, of what has been going on in London with these campaigners for Leila Cunningham, and Luke Robert Black, who is a Conservative, posted, "Walking around the streets of the UK shouting in a foreign language is a very strange thing for a supposedly anti-immigration party. Laugh my ass off. Do Reform believe in anything?" But Leila Cunningham has hit back saying they spoke English. You looked at them and thought otherwise. I'll let people draw their own conclusions about what that says about you and your party. So she seems to be hinting there, Karen, that if you don't support this multicultural approach that Reform UK are taking, you are racist. What do you have to say about that?
They will do that. That is the essence of Reform UK right now, unfortunately. It was a headache. I used to be a Reform councillor before I defected, and I had problems since since 2024, because it was gradually moving towards this, and it's just weak, really. They just want to say and do anything that gets them votes. Doesn't matter the capability or the quality or whatever. They don't have any ideology. They don't have any real. Their only ambition is to get Nigel Farage into number 10.
That's such a load of nonsense.
Okay, come in, Roger.
What's wrong with nonsense? That's such a load of nonsense. Could you back any of that up with at least one tiny fact or piece of evidence, please?
Well, what's nonsense? I was a Reform councillor.
That they don't have any policy, that they don't have any this, they don't.
The policy's open for interpretation. We've had when I was a councillor for Reform, and you'd have someone come to me, I could say, oh yeah, we want to do mass deportations. Oh wait, no, we don't. We don't anymore. We're going to fix the economy. How are you going to do that? Well, we're gonna go into crypto.
So you extrapolate.
That's a rebuilding industry.
So I specialize in geopolitics and economics as a broadcaster. I haven't seen anything from Reform that remotely resembles that. You're saying you want to extrapolate from your experience to smear the whole party? And Dan, I want to pick you up on the comment that you sort of slipped in at the end.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe there's a lot of people don't want to vote for an Egyptian Muslim. I mean,
Yeah.
what about the millions of British Muslims? You know.
That's the problem, isn't it? There shouldn't be millions of British Muslims.
Yeah,
That is the exact
No,
problem.
I agree. I don't think people do.
That sounds pretty racist to me.
Well, it's
Wait a minute, Roger.
It's okay,
Wait a
Sarah, I'll
minute,
let you come back, but it's not racist. It's not racist. You know, criticizing Islam is not racist. Being a Muslim is not a race, it's not an ethnicity. And this is my problem with Reform UK. You seem to be leaning into these left-wing tropes.
Everyone who criticises reform is a racist. That's
There's
not
nothing.
It's a
There's
left-wing
nothing
policy.
left.
Not going to
There's
work.
nothing left wing about. There's nothing left wing about me. I assure you.
Well, your literal response to me, my first criticism was, that's racism. That was your direct response.
No,
Which is
I was
exactly
re-
what Layla Cunningham did when she was criticised. Her tweet says, London should be a city where your path of life is not decided by your birth, a city where patriotic people from every community can do this, can do that. No, London should be a city for Britons. London should be a city for Englishmen. And your birth should have some implication on that. Where you were born has an influence. If you're ethnically English, ethnically British, you have preferential treatment in British cities, including the capital city.
Father,
To suggest that anyone can come in and do whatever they like.
Yeah, well, Father Calvin, I'm both British and American. I've been here a very, very long time, and I'm one of those foreigners that came here.
No.
And if you want to export everybody who isn't English or British born, you know, I think that's both impossible and a bit extreme and unnecessary.
I mean, you're just arguing straw man. My point was that London is a city first and foremost for Englishmen and Britons. It is not a city where everyone can come in and do what they like. That was my point. And actually, there has been far too much immigration, and there does need to be a lot of mass deportations too, and repatriation. And I think we have to stop by looking at anyone that's ever committed a crime. If you're a foreigner, you've committed a crime, you need to go. Roger, I don't know if you've ever committed a crime, but if you have, I would have to go. If you haven't, we'd have a further conversation. And we have to draw a line somewhere. And our country is not a country that opens doors for every single foreigner to come.
Oh, good. Well, then I get to continue to talk to you because the only crimes I've ever committed are speeding offences. So, you are obviously appealing to a very small demographic of people, and that is the problem with this split on the right, Father Calvin, is that each of you, UKIP, Restore, Advance, you're all appealing to a very small portion of the electorate, and you're wrecking the power of the right, and every vote for one of you is a vote for that.
Well, I want to let Sarah come in. I want to let Sarah come in on that first thing. We'll come to you, Karen, because you've specifically raised Advance and Restore. So, Sarah, you come in first.
I like Nick from
Well,
UK.
I want to go in with Layla Cunningham.
with-
My main concern with her was, you know, that I've done the reporting on her mother's Airbnb it is a sort of migrant hotel, but it's ones that have already passed their immigration and they're allowed to stay, but the local authorities pay for their rent. Now, Layla Cunningham owns shares in that hotel. My problem with that hotel was the state of it. It's an absolute shit tip. And the thing is, at the end of the day, if she wants to run for London Mayor, surely she should be leading by example. And that hotel is on a road where the houses cost millions and millions. And so she's quite happy for the neighbours. Is she going to make her mother clear up her hotel? Is she going to make her mother, because she's not at the moment. And
Roger, that's your London mayoral candidate, Roger.
Yes.
Nobody could do nothing for him.
Well, I don't know about her B&B or whatever, but you know, I've only been involved in this campaign for a short period since they asked me to join, and I've been with Layla several times, and
I think she's a bit
she had a very distinguished career with the Crown Prosecution Service. She's a senior lawyer. She has very good credentials.
And I wouldn't trust them.
And when she speaks, she makes a lot of sense, certainly more than our current mayor. And at this stage, I would almost give anybody a chance over sad IQ Khan, because London has been ruined.
I like that. Okay, Karen, you wanted to come in because there was specific criticism towards Restore Britain from Roger?
No, don't get me wrong,
Yeah, I mean,
listen,
look,
it can.
we've clearly got a
Everyone's
civil war
better than
going
that
on,
cunt.
right? And I think it's the
Yeah,
same.
they are.
Having the
Everybody's
same in
better than that
America.
cunt.
Just the difference is here,
But-
ours is happening before the election to after. And this is a civil war that needs to be won by Restore. It needs to be won by a more pro-British party, one that actually cares about our native roots
Yeah.
and
Over
about our
1,000
culture
years
that is
worth.
absolutely being tarnished.
Yeah.
And the fact that
And that's
Reform
what we
UK is
want.
standing third
That's what
world
the English
candidates
people
is
want.
such a
And it's our country,
such
it's
a slap
our
in the
land,
face
it's
to
our
so many of their
fatherland
voters.
and stuff.
And they have a lot of good voters, a lot of loyal
And-
voters
and-
who stuck through thick and thin. And I honestly don't know how they're carrying on with this.
Third world
Especially-
candidates,
He's
Roger?
only young, him as well. He's
Well,
only
same
young.
thing
He's older,
as you
he's
said
young.
before, you're going to lose
I'm 43.
a lot of the electorate taking that view. This is why I don't see these small splinter parties getting anywhere
really
in
like it.
time
It's
for
not
the
a
next
small
general
splinter party,
election.
though.
If I can finish. This is why I don't see these parties getting anywhere in time for
Restore
the
has
next
more
election.
members, Roger, than the Conservatives.
Pardon me?
Restore Britain has more members than the Conservatives. It is a huge party.
Yes,
So if you
I
care
understand,
about
but
these issues-
it's still the hundreds of thousands. It's not
It's
giant
entirely-
numbers of people.
Well, you're in the hundreds of
Well,
thousands.
look, can I
Well,
come
Bob
in, please?
Calvin.
Because
I like Bob
we've had
Calvin.
meetings, we've had
I know-
branch
I know
meetings, and we've
he's-
had about
I know he's in
80% of the
UKIP, but I
people
like
turn
Bob
up.
Calvin.
Over 100 people not be wanting to
I've
involve
always liked Bob
in the
Calvin.
political process before. And I never saw that
I've
in
seen this
Reform.
young man before.
When I was in
I've
Reform,
seen
there's a lot
him
of
very much, but
ex-Tories.
I've seen him a bit
And you can
before.
see that
I've
the
seen
Tories
them all before.
basically reincarnated themselves within
I've gone
Reform.
off
That
a
is how
bit
it
from
has
Reform
has
Party. He's
happened.
gone a bit.
And when you put a bunch of third worlders in, what's going to happen is they're going to make a lot of choices, and then it's just
That's
become
not
the
very
new
nice,
Conservative
is it?
Party with a load of extra third worlders.
And look, the British people care
Britain is
about.
what Reform initially
Well,
was.
And
Father
look,
Calvin,
what we're
Just let Father
discussing
Calvin
here,
come in, Roger, first.
what we're
The British
discussing
people
here,
care
what
about
you're
this.
saying, what we're
We care
discussing
about
here.
Calvin.
Roger, just
Sorry.
let Father Calvin come in and then we'll come to you.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
Father Calvin have a
We
speech.
care about our country, and I think it's disingenuous to suggest, well, you'll lose votes if you say things like that. I think it's important that we say things like that. I don't think it's good to win for the sake of winning. If you can't win by speaking the truth and representing the people of Britain who are screaming out for representation that is patriotic, then there's no point in you winning at all, Roger.
Roger.
I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, I don't feel that way. I don't mind having Muslims and other people living here with me and equal to me and voting with me and in my party. I just find it
Yes, it's the
unnecessary.
suicidal empathy approach.
If I could, it's my turn. I just find it unnecessary to exclude those people. Look, bottom line, what we're talking about
No
here,
one's
it seems to
excluding
me,
anyone.
is your views
No,
that
no one's
Restore will
excluding
push
anyone.
aside reform before the next general election, whenever that is. That may be the case. But if you're wrong, you are going to destroy the right, and are going to empower people like Zach Polanski, who, to my mind, I've spoken to old green people, tree hugger types. They're very dysfunctional
100%. Well, we're going to come to Polanski. We're going to come to Polanski specifically in just one moment. But I want to speak about one specific policy issue, Roger, because there is a huge split on the right about this. So I'll let everyone have their say on it. But if we can start with you, Roger, why is it the right thing to put your detention centres in constituencies with a Green Party majority?
When I heard that, Dan, I'm sorry if it's irreverent, but I just said to the
There is
people
no
that
room
I
for
was with,
detention centres.
it's really
If there was
interesting
fucking
to think
detention
of
centres,
having
they
a
should be
future
there
prime
already,
minister
mate.
who's got a real sense of irony.
Oh, mate, they're going to be taking
I just
100
thought
years
that
to
was
build
very
them.
interesting.
Oh,
Whether
gosh,
whether
no.
they'll actually do it or not,
That's
I don't know.
pathetic. No,
But it probably will
no,
garner a
that's
hell of a lot of
pathetic.
votes.
Okay.
You don't want detention
So that
centres
basically means your
being
opinion
built.
is the start.
More money,
There's
more
a lot
money.
of people who don't want to be demographically replaced in their
More
own
money,
country,
mate.
and that is
No
what's being
more money
faced.
being wasted.
Well, you need a government that's
spent
not
on
going to move migrants
stupid
simply to
things
green
that
areas.
don't
You
need
need
to be
government that's going
spent
to support
on.
the people there. So in
No,
Faversham, near
we
where
need
I
to
am,
spend
there is a
money
migrant centre that is
and
right
get the
next to a primary
fucking
school, and
army.
it caused a massive problem.
Yeah,
And
because
I
it's
remember we in
massive.
Reform, and they
And
told
we
me
are
that I
got
shouldn't get
big
involved in that because it's too
Rupert Low is going to
controversial.
have a
Whereas
hard,
loads and loads of people in that
hard
area, in
thing to deal
Faversham,
with.
want that migrant centre closed
When
and
it comes
gone.
to being
And I think that's
to
only
be
fair.
the
You see an
government
old
party,
people's
you're
home.
going
Why
to
the
have it really
hell
hard to deal
can't it
with.
be an old
It is.
people's home again for the residents of
It is
Faversham?
going to have.
Those who've actually paid into the system,
Roger.
I've got
actually
this
contributed.
Rupert Low.
Reform UK just think that they should stay there because it's a lefty area. I mean,
If I can respond to that, if I can respond to that, Karen, you make a lot of interesting points. You've obviously had an experience that wasn't the most favorable with reform. But you're talking about things that are wrong with the way reform performed, and I'm talking about politics.
Do you want?
No, it's not important. It's not important. What's important?
Politics,
Tomorrow,
mate,
do
you
you want
want
more
to way.
Jim Karens
You only
and
want that reform.
just to be too egotistical to actually do anything?
It's not important. What's important is what's going to happen politically.
Politically,
If Restore doesn't push reform out in time for the next general election, we will be so much more lost than we are today. I jumped into this to be a politician for the first time in my life because this country is becoming a third world country. Economically and otherwise, we're going down the drain.
For you is an even bigger disgrace. It's just a kick in the face. It's so silly. I think Restore's going to do it. Well, reform is very necessary in this process because it proves that the two-party system isn't here to stay. It's proven that it can be done.
Two-party system,
and they can do it again.
Two-party system went long ago. There is no there's a uniparty.
Okay, let me put it this way. You've got, in the 2024 general election, there was vote reform because, still vote reform, you're not going to split the vote. But people still vote Conservative and Reform didn't get in, right? So, vote reform, don't vote for Restore, because otherwise, whatever. But you could have, if you rally together, Restore can get in. And we're talking 3 years in time, in the future potentially. A lot can happen in 3 years. Because Restore's growth has been extraordinary in 3 months. And the attitude there is crazy. And whatever happens on Friday, if we get a lot of victories in Great Yarmouth, if we walk the park with it, right? If we do great things, then it proves that Restore can definitely win. And it is an example.
Roger, it's your argument, because this is the problem I sometimes have with Reform UK, Roger, and remember I'm someone who voted for Reform UK at the last election, but the problem that I have is it's almost like, you've just got to go with us, because you have no choice. There's no other option. If you don't go with us, the right is divided. But then you say things like, well, I have absolutely no problem about Islamist candidates. I have absolutely no problem about third world candidates. You've just got to accept our policy prescription, which is going to be very mainstream. And a lot of us are looking at the country, Roger, and thinking, actually, this is an emergency situation and Reform UK isn't going far enough. And it's not enough anymore, Roger, for you to just say to someone like me, hold your nose and vote for Reform UK, because this is an emergency situation.
We need hard lines. We need this hard. We need somebody to come in and do mass deportations. However, mass deportations, they have to be done fairly. And like, I'm having people now telling me that I need to be deported because I'm half Irish. It's a little bit ridiculous. Like, we have to, there's this old school racism that's coming out that people feel that it's acceptable now from like the 1970s. That needs to be put to bed because we don't want that either. Obviously, I'm a proud member of Advance and I support what Advance wants to do, which is mass deportations, but it's fairly across the board. My problem with Restore is that you want to do mass deportations, but when you look into your policies, it's more about reshaping daily life in the UK, because bringing in e-visas, it kind of plays into the hands of the digital currency, digital ID, which surely none of us want.
No.
Karen, your response?
But Dan,
Well, just let Karen respond to that because Sarah has made a specific claim about Restore Britain, and then I'll bring you back, Roger. So, Karen, how do you respond to that?
Well, look, there's a lot of people in Restore. We know that our high streets are taken over. We know that we are losing our housing estates because we're getting so many people being funneled in. And there's a lot of people who've got generations who've come through who don't want to be here either. They aren't actually at home. They think they are, but they're not. And we're not proposing complete the deportation of everyone. That's not impossible, and that's not going to happen. Because there are so many people here who do want to contribute, who do love Britain, who do love our culture, and are fully integrated. But those on the fence, and those who aren't, they need to go. They need to just be gone.
Okay.
We can't keep worrying about
What about the repeal of the Equality Act 2010? And what about how this is going to, unless pressure, because it works on pressure, Restore is about applying pressure, and that is how people are going to leave. They're not going to be deported, they're going to leave. But this only works if the pressure is applied and people succumb to the pressure that is being applied on them. So then what happens if they don't want to leave? What happens if they think, actually, this pressure still isn't that bad? Then we're going to all be having to fund and find money to do deportations. This is going to
there'll be a lot of people who actually support
Britain that we want. It's going to reshape it and bringing in e-visas. It's playing into digital currency, digital ID. It's something that we are fighting against. That's why we go.
Well, that is an interesting difference between restore and advance. Just hold fire, Roger, because I want to ask you something specifically. One of the areas on the right of British politics where there is a huge divide is over the issue of the Unite the Kingdom activist Tommy Robinson. And we have our final pre-election debate between the true parties on the British right, representing Reform UK, Roger Giewolb. He is one of their candidates. Representing UKIP, their spokesman, Father Calvin Robinson. Representing Restore Britain, Councillor Karen Mushchuk. He was previously a Reform UK member, and one of the most prominent members of Advance UK, Ben Habib's party, is Sarah White. She also previously defected from Reform UK. So, Tommy Robinson, the Unite the Kingdom activist, this is where there is a huge split on the right of British politics. Roger Giewolb, your party says you don't want anything to do with this guy. You don't share his values at all, right? That's what you say.
The jury is out for me on Tommy Robinson. I can understand.
Well, it's not for your party.
No, I can understand their views, and I'm certainly not opposing them. But he's a peculiar fellow, Stephen Laxley, whatever he actually.
Said like a true reformer.
Pardon me?
Said like a true reformer.
Pardon me. Very good. I haven't made up my mind about him. He sort of comes and goes.
Well, you've sort of got to, I'm afraid, Roger, because he is a massive force on the right of British politics. He is bringing millions of people to the streets of London in a way that even your party, and don't get me wrong, Roger, I'm not doing down Reform UK and the events that you do. You'll pack out an arena. But even Nigel Farage would not get millions and millions on the street of London. So you sort of have to make your mind up. And what I've seen over the course of this campaign, Roger, if I'm being completely honest, is seeing your Reform UK figures like Malcolm Offord, your leader in Scotland, go on national television and say, well, we share none of the same values of Tommy Robinson. And I'm there scratching my head, Roger, and I'm thinking, what? Shared values like wanting to smash Pakistani Muslim rape gangs. Yep. Surely that is a shared value. Surely you could do what Rupert Low has done and praise the brilliant things that Tommy Robinson has achieved. Why does Reform UK and your leadership, I'm not saying you personally, but you're here representing Reform UK, why does your leadership seem to despise this patriotic man, Tommy Robinson, so much?
I can't really answer that with authority. No. It puzzles me. I'm not briefed on that, and I haven't made up my own mind about him. Sometimes.
So when you've been campaigning, has anyone asked you about Tommy Robinson in London?
No.
No one?
No, they haven't. So
what about Unite the Kingdom?
Pardon me?
Do you think the Unite the Kingdom rally should go ahead on the 16th of May in London?
Yeah. Yes, I have no objection to that. I went to his rally a few months back, and I thought it was fine. I didn't have any problem with it.
You went?
Did, indeed. I did.
And Reform UK allowed you to stand, even though you attended the Tommy Robinson rally?
I was not involved with Reform some months ago.
But you know your party has got rid of people simply for tweeting in support of Tommy Robinson.
Well, I haven't done that, but...
I mean, Roger, I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot of our viewers who right now will be thinking, oh, I didn't like that Roger guy, but actually he doesn't seem too bad. But the problem is, Roger, you've gone and joined the party that hates Tommy.
Yeah, just a minute. You said you were going to come back to me, and I wanted to pick you up on something.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you're a master at slipping things in, but of course, you know, you and I have broadcast for years and years and years, so
Hey, look, nothing's off the table. Go for me. What did I say?
I know how you operate. You conflated Reform having non-English, Muslim, whatever candidates with mass illegal immigration, it seems to me. They're two totally different things. You said I'm not in favor of zillions of immigrants coming into the country, but the ones who are here legally or were born here, I don't have a problem with them being co-candidates.
Yeah, and I do have a problem with it. It's a clear difference. I couldn't go and run for parliament in India, Roger. Even if I lived in India for years and years and years, I could never run for parliament in India. So yes, that is a clear philosophical difference. But look, I want to give the other parties a chance to respond on Tommy Robinson. Sarah White, I think it's appropriate to bring you in first because Tommy Robinson is actually a member of Advance UK. How have you felt about the way that Reform have been on the attack against Tommy over the course of this campaign?
Oh, it's just, nothing ever changes with Reform. It's utterly disgusting, the persecution that Tommy receives from them. And I'm a great supporter of Tommy. I was told by Reform multiple times, if you post about him, you will be removed. Then I spoke on his stage and it was like, yeah, see you later, Reform. I wasn't hanging about. Tommy's a great guy, and you've got to give credit where credit's due, whether you like him or not. The work that he's done over the years is commendable. And it's like if Calvin done something that I agreed with, I would support him and say, well done, even though I'm not part of his party. And I feel that the problem with Reform is Nigel has got such a massive ego that he can't bear anyone overshadowing him. Now, Nigel could not pull in a crowd like Tommy does.
Okay, well, given you've made a specific criticism of Reform UK, so I want Roger to be able to come back on that. Roger, is Nigel's ego too big?
Yes.
No, I actually think that Nigel is quite a modest guy in some ways. I've done events with him where we presented the budget for GB News or things like that, and he has that rare talent of being in the room with people in the bar after the event and making every single person feel they're the only one he's talking to. And I've watched him stay there until 2 a.m, until the last person had gone. He seems to me to have very little ego, frankly.
Yeah, because he needs to be like worshipped and adored. That's why he stays and hangs around. And he poses.
Well, I mean, look, there's all this bitterness. You and Karen, you're like a couple of.
And he thinks that the working class are going to somehow go, oh wow, he's one of us. He's got a pint.
You and Karen.
An elitist because he
you
wasn't.
You and Karen weren't treated well, and you're like a couple of obstreperous kids in a dark basement with a computer. Tapping away, what can I spoil, what can I spoil? You're going to wreck the right, and you're going to get us Zach Polanski running this country.
You're allowing Muslims
to vote for Nigel.
Yeah.
He's a fool. He's bringing in everyone who we don't want. What Reform was built on was grassroots, people who know their local communities, and all you filled your party with is ex-Conservatives and Labour.
Okay, but Roger is making the point, Sarah, and I'll let Karen come in. Karen Mischuk, who's another person who has defected from Reform UK to Restore Britain. Roger is effectively saying, Karen, as defectors, you are just bitter and twisted. That's the reason you're attacking Nigel Farage. It's for personal reasons, it's because it didn't work out for you in Reform UK, and now you risk bringing the whole thing down.
And you should be sent to your room without dinner.
Funny.
Right.
Well, I chose to leave because I couldn't leave I couldn't stay in that. My heart wasn't there. My gut wasn't there.
Yeah.
I think I did the most integral thing I could do. I could carry on blabbering about and lying, but that's not me. I'm not going to do that. Yeah. It was the period between leaving Reform and joining Restore. I went very quiet because I could not support Reform. I couldn't do it. It was unreal. But until Rupert did something, I couldn't do anything.
Okay, Karen, I do want to ask you about Tommy Robinson because the Restore Britain position is slightly more confusing, I would argue. There has been some negativity from certain sectors of the party, but then when Jacob Rees-Mogg sort of ambushed Rupert Low during that edited GB News interview the other week, and he asked specifically, why do you want anything to do with Tommy Robinson? I thought Rupert Low, while he said he wasn't associated with Tommy Robinson, at the same time gave quite a full throttle defence actually in terms of the positive things and the good that Tommy Robinson has done. But do you know where your party actually stands? Because at the moment I would say it's slight elephant in the room. What we've got is Reform UK are clearly a very anti-Tommy party, Advance UK and UKIP are clearly very pro-Tommy parties, but we don't really know where Restore stands on Tommy.
Well, it was incredibly necessary because what he's done for the political scene in this country is raise so many previously apathetic people from the into the political process. There's so many people who didn't want anything to do with politics, but because of Tommy's work and because of what he's done, he has made them think, and he's given them free will to think. He's given them.
So you're pro-Tommy? Pro-Tommy. You're not going to kick people out of the party for supporting Tommy?
No. Because we're a party of free will. If we want to think something and say something, we can do it. I mean, what's wrong with that?
Well, let's ask Roger that, because Roger, what I hear from people inside Reform UK is a lot of people say that Restore Britain is full of extremists. That's what they say. People who are going too far. And Reform seem to think that these people should be kicked out of the party.
Well, we've seen that today with some of these views, that, you know, you have to be white, English, or you don't get a say. I mean, that's quite extreme.
Karen?
I don't remember saying that, but I mean, no. Look, we're an English white Christian country, and we always have been. Our flag is the cross of St. George.
What's extreme about it?
I mean, it's silly that we're still arguing